Welcome back to Big Nick's Meats and Treats. Today we're going to do brined smoked pork chops. I'm doing pork loin chops off the bone that I got at Costco. They're really thick, like an inch and a half thick. I've done this process several times with them and it came out great. So I'm going to start off with the brine. I'm going to start off with 2 cups of apple juice, 1 cup of water, a 1/4 cup of kosher salt, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a tablespoon of coarse ground black pepper, and a teaspoon of red chili pepper flake. I'm going to put that on the stove, whisk it up until it gets just to a rolling simmer, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it cool. So I'm going to get this on the stove and I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, I have the brine off the stove. I stirred it the whole time to just shy of a boil, right at a simmer. And now I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it cool. I'm going to keep it there overnight because I'm going to cook the pork chops tomorrow. I'm going to let it cool in the fridge overnight, and I'll put the pork chops in the brine tomorrow, so I'll see you in the morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I'm getting ready to put the pork chops in the brine. A couple things. I did it last night and let it sit overnight so the brine could cool. You don't have to do it that way, but if you're working, cook the brine the night before you get up and go to, or before you leave for work. Put the pork chops in the brine, and when you get home from work, they'll be ready to go. If it's a weekend, you can do it the same day. Just give yourself about 6 hours from start to finish, because it takes a couple hours for the brine to cool, and then you want them to sit in the brine for 4 hours minimum or so. So timing wise, there you go. So I'm going to just take a Ziploc bag. It's a 1 gallon size, and these are the pork loin chops from Costco. They're boneless. They're pretty thick. They're probably 1.5 inches thick. Put them in there, and you'll notice I put the bag in a bowl twice now doing this. I've had major disasters with the Ziploc bags tipping on me, or the zipper not working after I got the brine in there and made a huge mess. So trial and error there. So just pour the brine in, get it in there. Zip up the bag. I'm going to lay them flat in the brine, put this in the fridge, and we'll let them sit there until dinner time, so probably 6 hours or so. You want 4 hours minimum. 4 to 8 is perfectly fine. So we'll see you in several hours. See ya. Welcome back. It's been about 6 hours. The pork chops have been in the brine that whole time. So what I did is I took them out of the bag and I lightly rinsed them under the faucet to get the brine off. And that doesn't mean just sit there and hose them off. I just ran them under water a little bit just to get that brine off so it's not super salty. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to dab them dry a little bit, get some of that moisture off. And I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil on all of them. I'm just going to lightly put a little bit of olive oil on all of them. Just, these things are so lean, there's hardly any fat in them. Put a little bit, it'll give some nice color to them, turn them brown a little bit too, and it gives something for the seasoning to stick to. So I do both sides real lightly, not super heavy. And then I'm going to take my magic meat rub, and since we brine these in salt, you don't want to get too carried away with the seasoning. If you salt them as heavy as you would if they weren't brined, it's going to be super salty. So take it a little easy on the seasoning until you get that figured out. I just do a little bit of Big Nick's magic meat rub on there, not super heavy. I got my smoker warmed up to 225. I'm going to smoke them at 225 for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to crank the smoker up to 325 and leave it there for the remainder until they get to about 162 degrees. 165 is the perfect temperature, but I'm going to pull them between right around 162 and let the temperature carry over to 165. So that's going to take a little over an hour. So we'll see you in about an hour. All right, our pork chops are done. It took about 70 minutes or so to get them done. They look real nice. I need to let them rest for a few minutes, but I can already tell they're going to be super, super juicy. I'm going to probably let them rest for 7 to 10 minutes before I cut into them. And one thing I wanted to talk about was the importance of using a meat thermometer to get to the right temperature. I almost always use a thermometer for meat, even if it's burger. And I've had several different kinds. There's one built into my grill. I have an instant one, and for the most of the pellet grill stuff, I use this Thermo Pro TP20. It's a 2-piece unit. This is the sending unit and the receiving unit. Works out Bluetooth, so I don't have to constantly go outside and look at the grill to see what the temperature of the meat is. I can just hang on to the receiving unit. Super handy, really affordable too. So, and I've had this one for 3 years with no problems. So we're gonna let these rest for a few minutes, and we'll cut into them and we'll show you what they look like on the inside. Well, I'm just about ready to cut into this thing. What I really like about the brining process with pork chops is one of those things that are so lean that it's really hard to cook, especially a thick one, and still have it juicy. You know, nobody likes a dried out pork chop, so the brining process really helps with that. We'll cut into this thing and take a look and see how it looks. Oh yeah, I can tell. You can see that look how juicy that is on there. So juicy. Real light smoke ring because we only smoked it for about a half hour, but it's so juicy on the inside. Take a look at this thing. So good. Take it easy on the salt when you season it. This is perfect. I seasoned it really lightly. You wouldn't want to season it any heavier than that. This is going to be absolutely delicious with some of Mrs. M's famous roasted Parmesan potatoes. Until we see you next week, watch me work, baby. Watch me work.